The 4th of July 2022. 12-year-old explains the corrupt banking system. 12-jarige legt het corrupte banksysteem uit.
It was about 5 or 6 weeks ago that Victoria spoke to a group of 600 people at a Rotary club, and she's going to be giving the same speech to us today. And I saw it, I think a week or so after it hit the web, it started going around, and so I quickly got on the phone and talked with her dad Zane and invited them here. And so we have a very special treat. So Victoria, come on up, do your thing.
Have you ever wondered why Canada is in debt? Have you ever wondered why the government forces Canadians to pay so many taxes? Have you ever wondered why the bankers from the largest private banks are becoming wealthier and the rest of us are not? Have you ever wondered why the gross national debt is over $800 billion? Or why we are spending $160 million a day on the interest of the national debt? That's $60 billion a year. Have you ever wondered who receives the $60 billion? What I have discovered is the banks and the government have colluded to financially enslave the people of Canada. I will share with you 3 important points of reference which will hopefully spark enough interest and concern for you to continue the research on your own and to engage your government to stop this criminal act against the people of Canada. First, we will briefly examine the Bank of Canada. Second, we will see how our banking system works today. And lastly, I will offer a viable solution that we can petition our government to implement. A very little known figure in Canadian history is J.O. Graham McGeer. He was a lawyer, member of Parliament, and Mayor of Vancouver. His contribution to Canada is probably the greatest in our history. He championed the creation of the National Bank of Canada, whose sole purpose is to create and manage Canada's money. It was formed on July 3, 1934, and owned by all Canadians. Until the 1970s, because of the Bank of Canada, Canada's national debt was held at a constant, manageable level, until the government decided to implement what we now have as our modern-day banking system that is robbing the Canadian people. So how are they robbing us? Allow me to explain how our private banks and government work today. First, the Canadian government borrows money from the private banks. They then lend the debt-based money to Canada with compounded interest. The government then continues to increase taxation of Canadians year after year in order to pay back the interest on the exponentially growing national debt. What results is inflation, less real money for Canadians to spend into our economy, and the real money being used to pad the pockets of the banks. Also, the government gave the banks the ability to loan out money that doesn't exist in the form of loans. When a bank gives you a mortgage, which literally means a death pledge, or a loan, they don't actually give you money. They click a key on a computer and generate the fake money out of thin air. They don't actually have it in their bank vaults. Presently, the banks only have $4 billion on reserve, but they have loaned out over $1.5 trillion. To quote Graham Towers, each and every time a bank makes a loan, a new bank credit is created. New deposits, brand new money. Broadly speaking, all new money comes out of a bank in the form of loans. As loans are debt, then under the present system, all money is debt. What I find interesting is even Jesus in Matthew 21 drove out the money changers in the temple because they were manipulating the currency to steal money from the people. The private banks are just like the money changers in Matthew 21. They are defrauding and robbing the people of Canada, thus their freedom, and they need to be stopped. How should the banking system work? In an infamous interview, Mr. McGeer asked Mr. Towers, "Can you tell me why a government with power to create money should give that power away to a private monopoly and then borrow that which Parliament can create itself back at interest to the point of national bankruptcy? Mr. Towers replied, if Parliament wants to change the form of operating the banking system, then certainly that is within the powers of Parliament. In other words, if the Canadian government needs money, they can borrow it directly from the Bank of Canada. The people would then pay fair taxes to repay the Bank of Canada. This tax money would in turn get injected back into our economic infrastructure and the debt would be wiped out. Canadians would again prosper with real money as the foundation of our economic structure and not debt money. Regarding the debt money owed to the private banks, such as the Royal Bank, we would simply have the Bank of Canada print the money owing, hand it over to the private banks, and then clear the debt with the Bank of Canada. And yes, we have the power and lawful right to do so. In conclusion, it has become painfully obvious, even for me, a 12-year-old Canadian, that we are being defrauded and robbed by the banking system and a complicit government. What will we do to stop this crime? What will we do to ensure that the next generation will live free and clear of the debt-based economy that enslaves them to the banks? Margaret Mead said the following, and I hope that all of you remember this. Never doubt that a small group of people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Thank you.
This is exactly the way the government steals children, robs people from their homes, robs people from their income, robs people from them everything. We have to stop them. We have to do this. Reden dat ik 6 jaar onderzoek deed is gewoon omdat ik door vroegere vrienden keihard in de steek werd en wordt gelaten, terwijl mij het meest verschrikkelijk overkwam en nog steeds overkomt. Onafgebroken pogingen tot doodslag, smerig, stiekem, onderuit, vals en tegelijkertijd gemondsnoerd worden. De zieker dan zieke waarheid wist ik te achterhalen. Black nobility naar blijkt, gay satanisten met een missie. Exit vrouwen, maximaal 500 miljoen van de 7,8 miljard van alle mensen mogen blijven leven. Choose your battles, verdomme. Rabobank, growing a better world together. Yep, zonder ons. Het grint op de bodem van die piramide, tegenover de Rabo in Maalwijk, representatief voor Rabo staatsaanpak, staat voor onze dood. Ons graf middels grafenoxide. Het ijzerwerk voor de Iron Man en slavernij. Wij terug tot steen. Alleen de top, de dichte punt, blijft. De bovenste binnen de tralies, vrijmetselaars, loges en ambtenaren maken de onderste kapot voordat zij, net als de rest, eraan gaan. Thank you, Michael Sparks, for this perfect video. I translated it in Dutch. Wednesday, the 12th of January 2022. They want me to die because I found out every single lie. Self-proclaimed first class terrorizes second class human race, violating all human rights, being pure disgrace. I am Trudi, the ex-wife of an Ashkenazim Zionist royal banker's son, Ed Splinter. His Highness himself wanted me just as being his slave. His father, Nikki, facilitated him and forced him to do so for 26 years now. Me, I was conceived to be a mere woman. I ought to be only a nurse, a slave and a mascot, besides giving birth to our 3 children. In Holland, the city of Waalwijk, one can legally torture a name of black nobility. Being assisted by the Rabobank, the whole parliament, the court-fixing Roman court, the city of Waalwijk in the former Silver Duchess estate in the south of the Netherlands. So the king, my ex, and especially his dad Nikki, who was the CEO of the local Rabobank de Langstraat, and his Rosicrucian friends, considering themselves as first-class citizens, affecting graduation most evil, example given Peter Konijnenburg, literally Peter Rabbit Hole, can easily let commit every single crime, violating all my human rights and steal everything from me, including my home and 3 children. On order. They stole my right to life, withholding both civil and human rights. The court-fixing Roman court in Breda and 's-Hertogenbosch follow all bankers' orders due to original Masonic blood brother nobility, in kinship with the Black Adler coat of arms in the city of Waalwijk, all concerning Brabant in the Holy Roman Empire estate, the city I lived in for 22 years, where I, besides being a mom, was a media professional at a radio station, a fancy restaurant entrepreneur, at the same time giving support to my ex-husband's business in VIP hospitality and exclusive cars. I set out all rally routes for old-timers, off-roads and supercars, wrote his recruitment campaigns, screw his columns and promo mills, being a perfect hostess at his racing events, besides being a perfect mother. I also used to be a politician of the Dutch Labour Party, PvdA. Now I know almost all our politicians are liars, just like my ex, his father and their Masonic family, friends and relatives. Suddenly I was no longer allowed to stand up for women's and children's rights. They just expected me to accept, and I had to accept, I was tortured by the Dutch youth care mob. I did not. I fought for equal rights for everyone all my life. I cannot stand cruelty, nor creeps lying and cheating, disadvantaging people. And certainly not that they harmed my own 3 children. They forced me to leave politics, March 2018. Again, bankers' influences, businessmen and statesmen. By now I know all being Freemasons in charge. Friends of Rabobank and my ex-father-in-law. Men on a mission to destabilize the country in order of New World Order, leaving all women behind. Because they are after our children, claiming sole rights to life, eliminating humanity, having played the clown all their lives, Satan worshippers. They robbed my home, including from my 3 children and even parental authority, through corruption and court fixing, by unimaginably lying, violence, continuous terror against me. They stole my income, my belongings, my pets. They frustrated opportunities to do business. They stole my personal things, my files and data. They frustrated my political future, my privacy by recording me, my relationship by threatening every single friend or relative through ruining them or threatening to do so. They made an already promised job impossible. To top it off, January 2019, they withheld one of my friends from already committed trade in Tilburg and Waalwijk and closed his business current account. One of my friends from my student days in Nijmegen, Daniel Frankenhuis, who wanted to help me, paying my lawyer, Yves Lasserood, after 23 lawsuits, not being able to fight for my rights to survive any longer. And 2019, Dutch nobility withheld former Marine officer and friend Max van Lieshout from already promised tenders to the Dutch state, according Justice and the Rabobank. They, I know by now, Satanists just couldn't and won't stop bullying, harassing, robbing, committing perjury, crimes of office, multiple attempted manslaughter aside from the secret subcutaneous homicides, by denying a mother from being together and any contact with her 3 children on the basis of organized banking state crime, continuously paying off judges and lawyers and forcing them to disadvantage me. They just proceed court fixing. Besides drilling me out of my home on the 1st of February 2021, putting me in this freezing cold on the streets with no means to survive, afterwards robbing my household effects, they sent in Satan's clowns, controlled opposition. Now the number of these evil fascist assassins is 43 satanic idiots to mislead me, steal from me, take away all my life energy and to put me through hell even further. Since last October my predators even deprived my mother of her self-determination. Again the Rabobank, income and personal care, while I'm in notarial power of attorney. They just neglect every human right, every civil right, and also my mother's official advantage directive. I know they want to kill us, both, and again want to let me starve. All this abuse of power and criminality, the worst I did not mention yet, is under leadership of Zionists in the local Rotary and the Rabobank, the Dutch national Nazi mafia, supported by Rosicrucians and lower Freemasons. I was forced to take care of my 3 children on my own because of mental illness and extreme behavior of the father of my 3 children. About us committed 192 criminal offenses against my children and me. My reports were refused by the local mayor, head of the local police, Nol Kleingeld, literally Nol Moneypenny, who was in the same political movement, Partij van de Arbeid, PvdA, as me, the same tennis club, the Mattekloppers. Furthermore, neighbors in the back, and he was and is fully aware on absurd corruption and human rights violations against me. March 24th, 2016. Child Protective Services forced me to raise my 3 children alone. Unpredictable extreme behavior of my ex-husband was mentioned as the reason. My ex-father-in-law and his Masonic friends, however, deem my motherhood and my human beings undesirable. If you divorce a king's son, you lose all rights to life. So they, the local coat of arms, managed another Nazi child to rob my kids. Silke van Puijenbroek, from the family who serves you most Dutch Nazi propaganda, DPG Mediahuis, papers, radio, digital media, reason of my goal to defensively survive. I learned my children good over evil. Me, Trudi Verstegen, as being their mum, only taught them to be a good thrill. They won't ever become Nazi fascists. I didn't nor won't allow them to be narcissists. Neither will I ever respect and accept being a slave, either forced by kings, banker, Jesuits. It's medieval. They are abused, spoiled rotten toddlers, misbehaving. They just have to quit sick games and behave. I fight for my children and my life. For all children, love instead of war has to be their destiny. Trudi Verstegen, Mama versus Mafia. P.S. Being separated from your children based on lies and court fixing by Nazis is the closest thing to hell one can imagine. Next to this, having to face former friends supporting gay Satanists, all busy on war crime, planning to kill us all, who just neglect your cry for help and just let you and your kids get trampled. At the same time being robbed from literally everything and all possibilities to stay alive, let alone able to be recovered. Besides the stress of the thought my kids follow complete idiots in vaccination crimes and their future in fascist satanic communism is harder than hell. I really lost my trust in people. If you do care about humanity and just like I do are ready to fight for our children's lives and freedom, I'd like to speak to you or meet you. The only way to create a future for our children is to stop the evil satanic spell. I did research during 6 years now and have a complete story to tell. And I'd like to do it well. Thank you.